Alrighty, folks, you're about to listen to a bonus huddle, a specially curated huddle that we run once a month with experts sharing their insights into the topics that are most important to our huddlers. The expert at this particular huddle was the esteemed Shelly Palmer, co-founder of Metacademy and CEO of the Palmer Group. He joined us to explore the world of Web3, the metaverse, NFTs, cryptocurrency, and all sorts of other interesting avenues that B2B marketers might want to start dipping their toes in. Kind of like a look at the future. Let's dive in. Welcome to this very special bonus huddle. Most of the time in huddles, we are focused on practical guidance for current challenges. We've tried to get you the state of the art. Today, we're putting on our virtual headset, so to speak, and we're imagining potential new realities, exploring the implications of emerging technologies under the label of Web 3.0 and how B2B marketers specifically could be able to leverage any of this in the not too distant future. Now, your guide for today is the esteemed Shelly Palmer. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Shelly over the last several years, interviewing him first in 2017 for a podcast and attending several of his kickoff events at CES. Now, in the event you don't know him, allow me to read this short bio. Shelly Palmer is the professor of advanced media in residence at Syracuse University's SI Newhouse School of Public Communications. He's a co-founder of the Metacademy and the CEO of the Palmer Group, a consulting practice that helps Fortune 500 companies with technology, media, and marketing. Named LinkedIn's top voice in technology, he covers tech and business for Good Day New York, is a regular commentator on CNN and CNBC, and writes a popular daily business blog, which, by the way, I read and look forward to every single day. He is the co-host of the award-winning podcast Tech Stream with Shelly Palmer and Seth Everett, and his latest book, Blockchain, Cryptocurrency, NFTs, and Smart Contracts, an executive guide to the world of decentralized finance, is an Amazon #1 bestseller, and I have read that, and it was extremely helpful. So anyway, Shelly, welcome. How are you?
Great to be here. I'm just fine. I feel excellent.
All right. Now, before we get in deep into this, and I know we're going to get deep into this, you also have this composer side and have written music for several industrial films, TV shows, and ad jingles. And I noticed a bunch for J. Walter Thompson brands when I was there, Burger King, Listerine, for example. But maybe the most notable is meow, 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 meow for Meow Mix. But do you have a favorite jingle that you've written?
You know, if I took the job this year, I would do the music for my 5,000th television commercial. So it's a little hard. I'm not really writing commercially anymore. I write for myself every day. I play every day, but I don't write commercially for clients unless they bring dump trucks filled with $100 bills, and then I will consider the conversation, but not necessarily take the job. I was abused by enough advertising executives over the last 40 years. Do I have a favorite? Wow. Yes, I do. It was for Hood Dairy Products, and it never made it to air. But it was a bizarre little jingle about, you've heard about the hood on your car and you've heard about the hood in your raincoat, but did you ever really hear about the hood in your milk? And it was just a bizarre little jingle. And I to this day, wish it had gone the whole way. Instead, we ended up writing this rock anthem, You Can Feel Good About Hood, which I didn't feel good about, but you know,
what can you do?
What can you do? It's a business. It's a business that we're in. But thank you for, I spent a lot of time in the music business, a lot of TV music, a lot of news themes, just a ton of TV commercials, directed, produced. I don't know how many TV commercials, and a lot of TV shows, a lot of network shows. It was a lot of fun. And by the way, it's still a lot of fun. It's just the business has changed, and I'm in another thing.
Exactly. So what's as you were talking about the one that got away, that it's funny, and I know a lot of CMOs are ex-agency people, and if you've ever been at an agency, you've presented lots of amazing ideas that may or may not ever bought, and I have a book of them, of ones that didn't quite make it. So anyway, we've all been there. So I want to read a quote that I pulled from Deloitte's website because I think it's an interesting place to start, and it goes like this. Technologies like Web3 and the metaverse are poised to drive revolutionary advancement and technological breakthroughs, which could shape new forms of communication, innovation, prototyping, and community formation, and new business opportunities The metaverse and Web3 are powerful winds of change that will likely propel us into new and challenging future worlds that business leaders will navigate. To reap the benefits of this new internet platform, businesses should collaborate to build its foundation through metaverse and Web3 initiatives. So I put the emphasis on poised, and I wanted to think about poised. And is this like an oak leaf that's going to fall off the tree this fall? Or is this the seed that will be a great oak someday? How poised are we?
Wow. Well, first of all, it's important to understand that neither the metaverse nor Web3 are technically defined. So when you use those words in a sentence, you are saying nothing at all. You are literally saying nonsense. The metaverse has an ideological, it has many, but I have one ideological definition for the metaverse and Web3 combined, since neither is technically defined. And that is a platform that will allow both users and creators to share in the value they create. And the tools that do that are different depending on who you are. If you're a brand, the hallmark of Web3 or the metaverse in its vernacular definitions, the ones that are just out there, you'll always hear the word decentralized in the same sentence, that there's this decentralized future where, there's no Facebook in your way, or there's no central authority, there's no Netflix, there's no, big tech overlord. Well, first of all, we could argue whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, whether anarchy is better than some level of organization, hierarchical or otherwise. That's a different philosophical conversation. But for a brand, it's particularly important not to let that phrase go by without a giant challenge. And the reason, Drew, is that every brand is the central authority. The NBA is the central authority in basketball. The NFL is the central authority in football. The NHL is the central authority in hockey. Nike is the central authority in sports apparel. They may have competition, but they would consider themselves the epicenter of that world. And in a brand where brand trust and brand love are something CMOs work on all day long, the idea that there's a decentralized component to the main business of the metaverse or Web3 is nonsense. There may be decentralized finance or DeFi, or there may be some level of decentralized tool set for transactions in a trustless environment later. But if you're saying to me that I need the ability for a secondary market to exist, and I need the user and the creator to share in the value they create in that secondary market, unless that secondary market is fully trustless, meaning it's going out overseas somewhere and people you never heard of are going to somehow have a transaction of a thing you did and you need a royalty back from it, unless that's actually what you're doing, or you need to trade cryptocurrency on an open, decentralized exchange, then the decentralization part of Web3 has no meaning in the world of brands or advertising. It may have some cost-cutting rules when it comes to affidavits of performance for advertising. Did someone see this? Did this actually occur? Sure, that's a trustless environment. We don't need to be on the honor system, but you don't need blockchain for that. If you are the payer, if you are the central authority, you are the brand, you do not need blockchain involved in this in any way. So the big question you'll ask yourself is, why is this a blockchain project? Why am I calling it Web3? Why am I calling this the metaverse, when a good old-fashioned database with a well-structured database with a secure password will do in Web 2 and may actually be a better solution? So I think if you think about this as business outcomes first, technology second, then everything inside that Deloitte quote is kind of meaningless in the context of Web 3 and the metaverse. It's like, when you say metaverse, do you mean virtual world? Well, wait, that's not a metaverse. That's a virtual world. That has a whole set of constraints and rules and tools and techniques you need to get there. When you say metaverse, do you mean augmented reality, where I'm going to have go through a physical world and somehow streaming data is going to enhance my experience? Do I mean mixed reality, where I have a little bit of both, like Pokemon Go or some better version of that? Like, each one of those is a thing. Do I mean metaverse, where I have decentralized identification or self-sovereign identification, and I am using a tool like a blockchain so that every person that approaches my environment is instantly logged in without having to do anything? Okay, that's another thing too. But what you can't catch-all phrase this as Web3 in the metaverse, it's like they don't mean anything without a definitional. You really have to qualify and quantify what you mean when you bring those up in a convo. Just to say them is kind of, I don't know, word salad.
Yeah. Okay. And I look, they're a consulting firm and their job is to try to get people to do new things. I want to, let's bring this down though, but we know things are happening that are really interesting. I know because you write about them all the time. So CMOs have a lot on their minds right now, not the least of which is a looming recession and rising talent costs. They've got these two sort of things weighing heavily on their minds. Why should they make room for whatever we want to call this future, this stuff that is starting to be applied now in their brains to be thinking about it? Why are we spending 45 minutes talking about it right here?
I think there's an important point that, especially for marketers, more than for any other profession, if you take the ideological approach that the fundamental difference between Web 2 and Web 3 will be that communities are leveraged for value creation, that users and creators share in the value they create. So I am the brand, I am the creator, the bringer of creative, the basker in the halo of creative or content. And I've got a user base out there. Well, that user base is a community. In the old days, and I'll say, 3 years ago, a like was not a business outcome. A follow was not a business outcome. A conversion was a business outcome. You might have one metric on page views, but boy, if you do, you're still living in 1988, not 1998 or 2008. I mean, it's like, these are conversions were the metric. You might have a gross impression number for brand love because you don't have a better way to do it. You might have some, working media, non-working media ratio, some A to S. But at the end of the day, a like was not a business outcome in a Web 2 world. You had other metrics, other ways to look at path to purchase, other ways to look at your funnel, other ways, top of funnel versus trends. Like everybody had a performance marketing. Everybody had a different way of doing that. And every business that we work with, every one of the companies that we consult has a kind of a different calculus they use from top of funnel down to performance. This is different. Here, we have the ability to turn a like into a business outcome. We have the ability to turn a follow into a business outcome. You want to see who's going to do the best with an NFT. You want to see who's going to do the best with a decentralized offering. It's the individual or group with the largest communities, someone with the biggest Discord server, with the largest Twitter following, the ability to get out there and make an offer to their community. It's either a community of passion, a community of practice, or a community of interest, and you are motivating them and then giving them a participatory tool. Like, imagine the most insanely empowered loyalty program you could ever imagine, like with every bell and whistle ever, assuming you had perfect knowledge of the community. That's sort of what happens if someone is willing to take an airdrop from you and you know what wallet it is. And now a lot of the things about advertising change and marketing change because where in a Web 2 world, I'm trying to get an enriched profile of my customer. I'm trying to go really deep for either a single view of the customer or, a single source of truth. And I'm working hard to enrich everybody's profile so I can calculate propensities. And I'm going to try and regress as many lines through these propensities as possible and get a fairly decent understanding of the causality versus correlation in my marketing. Now I've got a wallet address and I know what the wallet's doing. And I really don't care who you are. I care what the wallet's doing. Now, you might say that's just another component. I only understand the wallet. I don't understand the person. It's like, but the wallet actually is the digital persona of the entity that now lives in the quote metaverse or now lives in Web 3. We've never had that before. You do a single sign-on with Google, they don't really share that with you past the point. You do an SSO with Facebook or OAuth, you have some understanding of where people go. But with the end of third party, cookies coming, if it ever does end, and Google says it will. And you look at Apple tracking transparency, which has taken a wooden stake through the heart of Facebook to the tune of tens of billions of dollars. So I'm a brand and I really want to understand that consumer's journey, my customer's journey through this new space. There are some tools coming. What are the tools? Self-sovereign identification or decentralized identification. The buzzword right now, there's a white paper a couple of months ago in May about soulbound tokens, stealing soulbound from Worlds of Warcraft. But the idea of a non-transferable, immutable NFT at no cost that would have, for example, your college diploma or your driver's license. It only belongs to you. It can't be transferred. You can do the same thing with a non-transferable NFT contract, smart contract with a non-transferable configuration to it. But one way or the other, this idea that this entity travels through the metaverse, through Web 3, and you can really get a handle on what that is. And then for a marketer, the reason I said this is so important is that the script is flipped, where I was going one to many, where I've always been out there sort of telling my story. Now they can be part of my story because I know where the digital entity is in a way I could never know where the person is. And I know what the wallet is doing in a way I could never know what the person is doing. And so it's a really different it's a different way to think about marketing. It's a different way to think about ROAS. It's a different way to think about communities of passion, interest, or practice. As a marketer, which do I have? Community's never been more important. We always say it's important, but here I can make it actionable. And so if there is a Web3, if there is a metaverse, one of the attributes it will have is this ability to collect and leverage data in a way that at the moment, privacy laws prevent us from doing. But there, just as you post on Facebook publicly, hi, I'm going to the beach. I just got an airdrop of an NFT. The wallet can't hide. It's on the blockchain. It's there for us to see. So 1 minute of blockchain analysis, and I know who's got this airdrop. That's a meaningful piece of data I literally couldn't get in a Web 2 world. How many people went into Walmart and bought a thing? Okay, Walmart, could you tell me I need share a basket? And now, 3 weeks from now, I'm going to get what I need out of this. Here, I'm one Python script away from knowing what went down this afternoon. Very different way to activate a community. So if you're in the activation business, if you're in the understand what the consumer is going to do as they float through the world, there was a Pew research survey came out early this week. It was 54% of teenagers say they cannot, 13, 17-year-olds say they have a lot of trouble putting down their smartphone, and 46% say they're almost constantly online. That's up from 24%. It's double from 8 years ago. So here we have this sort of research backing up these kids are online full time. Gen Z full time. Wow. So as they start to get up into the demo, this, whatever this is going to kind of evolve. As a marketer, I want to be on this. And I don't quite know what that means right now, but there's a bunch of places where I can start to play to get enough knowledge so that when it does go down, I'll at least understand how to bridge my world. Maybe we'll never get to Web 3. I'll be a Web 2.5-ish when Web 3 hits, and that'll put me in a better place than my competitors. And that's, I think marketers need to be just on top of this hard for those reasons and some others we haven't gotten to yet.
A lot to unpack there, and I can't possibly get all of it. You mentioned the demos. I'll come back to that. We did have a question about who this is going to mean something to today versus tomorrow. And you've just answered that. It's, you got to get in there today in order to be, this is your customer of tomorrow. I want to go back to communities because I know that every CMO here that's listening to us live or listening to us later wants community. They want to build community, they want to support community, and they have communities of passion, they have communities of practice and interest. They have all of those. Yeah. And this is important to them, really important to them. And by the way, it'll be more important if we go into a recession because hanging on to your customers and nurturing them and, upsell, cross-sell, all those things really, really matter. That's what will sustain you in a downturn. So if we were going to play and we wanted to play in community right now, link those dots, help these folks sort of get where you are, because there's a lot in your head. And what's this look like? What do we do?
So I don't think Web3 is a community building tool. I think it is a tool set to leverage existing community. And that is a non-trivial distinction. It is a distinction with a profound difference. People have come to me over the last 12 months, 14 months. This has been the year of NFTs. Everybody's all over this idea of an NFT. Every day we get 3 to 5 inbounds. Oh, my uncle is the world's greatest underwater photographer, and he has the largest collection of the best underwater coral reef pictures, renowned by divers worldwide. We want to make them NFTs. And the first question I have is, how many Twitter followers does your uncle have? He has 160. That's lovely. I bet they're all wonderful people. How about his Facebook collection? About 60. Great. And tell me about his Discord server. Oh, he doesn't have a Discord server. Like, you're not selling any of these no matter what. Whereas a music artist or recording artist or a film, a movie star will have 4 million or 5 million Twitter followers, have 350, 400,000 people in a Discord server. And basically they decide to launch a tequila and they're already 20,000 cases into it and they haven't distilled 1 drop of tequila yet. They want to do an NFT airdrop of some kind to hold a lottery for 10,000 custom, unique, personally signed vinyls of this new album release. And it costs you $25 to get in the lottery, and there'll only be 10,000 albums that you can spend $1,000 for. That's $6 million the recorded music company never gets, the artist gets directly. But if you don't have a community to leverage, you're not building a community with these tools. So don't even think for a second that this is some magical, thing that you go, okay, boom, I'm going to do this. And all of a sudden everybody's going to love me and I'm going to build this big community. The crypto millionaires are all crypto thousandaires right now. If you bought any cryptocurrency or any NFTs from 2020 to today, you are somewhere between 50 and 95% down from where you started. So what I like to say to people is, you want to make $1 million in crypto, start with 5 million about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
This is not going to build a community. What's going to happen, though, is that if you have a community, what you can do is involve them in a way you never could before, assuming you're good at it. And I'm sure everybody here is familiar with Bored Ape Yacht Club because it's the most famous of the collections, the digital collectibles. There are two things I want to go over first. One, we're going to talk about what an NFT actually is and what an NFT actually isn't. And we're going to do that in 1 second. I'm going to use the term, the initialism NFT, incorrectly for a moment. I'm going to say that you bought an NFT. You don't buy an NFT. You buy a digital asset, a digital collectible, an asset, and the NFT represents it. But we're going to talk about that in just 1 second. As a marketer, I want you to go into what Yuga Labs did, and I want you to think about it deeply. Then I want you to go over to Top Shot and have a look at NBA Top Shot and look at that, the entire arc of that story. And I want you to think about it as a storyteller and a marketer, not as a consumer. This is a new storytelling platform. Storytelling is as old as people, but the Bored Ape story is compelling, and it had celebrity, it had intrigue, it had hacking, it had places to go that were secret. It was a story, and people bought the story and believed the story. It's a new storytelling tool. If you want to understand communities of passion and NFTs, go look at NBA Top Shot. That's $970 million of people wanting to wear their clothes, but also wear their car, wear their beer, wear their music, and wear their favorite team. So this is a story about a community of passion around a thing. And it's a way to go from beginning, middle, ending, rising action, climax, falling action on a new platform. And it's incumbent upon you as a marketer and a storyteller to learn to tell those stories. You write music that way, you write prose that way, you write films that way, you will write the digital NFT path that way. What I meant to say about NFTs, and this is, if you take nothing out of today at all, I want you to just take this one little bit of knowledge and you can use it with or without attribution. You go into a grocery store and you purchase a bag of groceries and the cashier gives you a receipt. You walk to the door of the grocery store and the guard stops you and says, "Person, prove you own what's in the bag." You take out the receipt and the guard looks at the receipt, looks in the bag. The guard does not care what's in the bag at all. Other than that, it matches the receipt. When what's in the bag matches the receipt to the guard's satisfaction, he puts the receipt back in the bag and sends you on your way. The stuff in the bag is the digital collectible, the digital asset, the Bored Ape, the $590,000 GIF file you just bought. The NFT is the receipt, and the receipt is publicly viewable. Now, all NFTs, all 100% of NFTs are smart contracts, meaning that they're exactly like regular contracts. There's a receipt, right? Here's the receipt for your contract. Signed, you own this. There's title to your thing that you bought, whether it's a Bored Ape or a house, doesn't matter. The NFT can represent anything. What makes it a smart contract is that when the terms and conditions are met, if it is programmed as such, it will execute automatically. You can think of it like a vending machine. You go up to a vending machine and you put in a nickel, and the thing says $1.50. Well, it's not going to give you your chips. When you put in the $1.50, you get your chips. Now imagine that a house elf walks over to a big block of granite and carves in stone the transaction you just did. The block of stone is the blockchain. It's immutable. It will last forever. You can tell if it's been altered instantly, and it doesn't care what you write on it. Doesn't make it true, just means everybody agrees that this transaction as written is now going to be across all 11,000 nodes of the blockchain. That's done. And the smart contract, the NFT, is the transaction itself. What does it represent? Anything. So when you think I bought a picture for $500,000, that's the right way to think about it. I bought an NFT for $500,000. That's nonsense. You bought the picture. The NFT simply is your receipt, and that's publicly viewable. The spreadsheet that says this transaction happened is just on a blockchain that anyone with a blockchain, that you can go to etherscan.io and go scan the blockchain, see every transaction that's ever happened on the Ethereum mainnet, every transaction that's ever happened on the Polygon mainnet. It doesn't matter. Bitcoin Explorer will show you every Bitcoin transaction ever in the history of Bitcoin. It's all in plain sight. So do not confuse NFT with the thing. You bought the thing. The NFT is a smart contract that may, for example, say that you own a Bored Ape, including the intellectual property rights to create something with this Bored Ape, which not every NFT does empower you to do. And maybe it says that if you sell it, to somebody, the original creator, Yuga Labs, gets 10%. You can't actually sell that Bored Ape legitimately without them getting 10% in cryptocurrency because it happens automatically. That's the whole purpose. And when I said users and creators share in the value they create, imagine if Picasso could get, or his estate could get 10% every time a Picasso got sold at auction. Wow, the user gets something. Imagine if every time somebody bought a piece of music, instead of the recorded music company and the performance royalty companies like ASCAP and CSAC and BMI, instead of everybody having their hand in there, the recording artist directly got paid in cryptocurrency by the users, creating a really wonderful relationship between the creator and the community. Marketer. So as a marketer, as a CMO, you are the creator and they are your community. How would you use this very interesting new platform to create value for both of you at the same time? That's the trick. That's the drill. That's what we're all exploring, and everything else is noise right now.
Okay. You've written about the Tiffany thing and you've written about the Macy's thing, and they are contrastable. And I'm hoping that by you talking about those two and why one of them was dabbling and one of them was really kind of interesting, help folks understand these two programs.
Sure. Okay. So let's start. Everybody knows what an NFT is now, and everybody understands that it's simply a representation, a receipt, a representation of something you're buying. So Macy's wanted to get into the NFT thing, and they hired a company called Sweet, fantastic NFT company. We love them a lot. Full disclosure, we're working with them on our National Hockey League project. They did the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And what they did was they took a bunch of balloons, vintage balloons, because Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is famous for its floats and balloons. The balloons were made into NFTs. And then they made them available for not a lot of money. I think they were I think the most expensive one was like $25. And they thought they'd build a thing. If you go there now, you'll see a relatively abandoned website with a relatively abandoned marketplace. This would be the equivalent of going to a World Series game and getting like the commemorative towel or something, and then going home, and it ends up in the closet for the next 15 years. And as it slowly fades, the 1986 World Series sort of goes out, gets washed off the towel as it gets used over the years. That's that equivalent. Was it a good idea or a bad idea? I don't know the answer to that. We'll let others be the judge of whether it was a good idea or a bad idea, but it was a one-off. They may revisit it for next year, but they have not been able to do anything really interesting with it. Why? They didn't create questing. They didn't create a story. They didn't continue the story. They didn't build a story arc. They didn't engage the community. They basically exploited a moment in time, which happens once a year, and they left it there. I don't see about how I'm building panels of the balloon, or how I'm getting patterns, or how I can be part of like where the balloon's going to be in the like none of the things that you would do to activate this group are being done. It's just sitting there, and I'm not passing judgment. It's just that's a thing that happened, and maybe they'll sort of pump some air into it. No pun intended. Maybe they won't. Drew, the other thing you brought up was TIFFs. Yeah. The NFTIFFs is what they called them. NFTIFF little f's. So what they did there was fascinating to me, and I don't know that it will be successful or not. It's sold out immediately, so it's that level. It is successful. For those of you who are unfamiliar, CryptoPunks are a series of 10,000 generative NFTs. Generative meaning that they were created by computer. They're very low resolution, 8-bit images, and they are no longer available for sale in the primary market. They've all been sold. There's a secondary market. The cheapest CryptoPunk you're likely to find, I don't know, I could go look it up right now, probably $125,000, maybe $125,000. I've seen them as high as $1 million. There's 10,000 of them out there, and there's a robust secondary market, and they're traded pretty well. Tiffany's decided they wanted to do something. So they decided that they were going to make a limited number. I think it was 50. It might've been 250. Let me look that up so I don't give you the wrong information. But while I'm looking that up, what they did was they did a jeweled version of a CryptoPunk. The 250. Yeah, they're limited to 250 items. So they took, if you had a CryptoPunk, you could spend $50,000 and you could buy a pendant that was, because it's so low resolution, they could do it with semi-precious and precious stones. So you go look up CryptoPunks, and then you could look up NFTIFFs, and you'll see that they've made these pendants that are CryptoPunks made out of jewels that you can wear around your neck. And it comes in a little Tiffany turquoise box, and it's all Tiffany'd out. It all that has a digital twin. You're now a very exclusive 250 person out of 10,000 club. Now, anybody that's got a $125,000 CryptoPunk probably isn't going to think that long and hard about a $50,000 jewel necklace to show it off. And if you got $1 million version of it, it's definitely worth it. Anyway, it must have been because it sold out immediately. Tiffany thought this through really hard. They decided their brand is a high-end luxury brand. They went for one of the higher NFT projects. They understood the story. They understood the market. And they went at this exactly the way you'd expect Tiffany to do it. Before they put them on the market, when I learned about it, I was like, man, it's going to sell out in one day. And you didn't need to be a genius. You just needed to understand that this was as an on-brand project as I've ever seen, in the context of taking one of the oldest, most venerable, most, I'm going to say, least cutting edge jewelry stores in the world and making it feel like it was on the knife edge of the front of the marketing world. One day changed my perception of Tiffany. And I, for me, that's like, you go there and you get people like retirement gifts. Oh, we'll get them a thing for the desk on the second floor. I mean, all of a sudden, like, whoa, Tiffany's way to think this through. So yeah, we'll see what they do with it. They don't need to do much at this point. There's a digital twin for each of the CryptoPunk NFTs. Digital twin meaning that you now have a CryptoPunk that tells everybody you own the pendant too. You can sell the pendant independently of the CryptoPunk, but why would you? Now they can all go together and they're fully authenticated. It is a perfect use of what this is. And look, early days. Is this going to be like, I don't know if that's material, selling $250,000 bills to Tiffany's. Does that really make a difference in the Tiffany world? Probably not. But wow, I don't own a CryptoPunk. If I did, it wouldn't have taken me 1 second to go after that. So I love it. I just love the idea that they understand digital twinning and that there's a story they're going to tell. And they made your very big crypto investment even a bigger crypto investment that feels right and ties it back to the Tiffany brand. Gotta love it.
So I want to remind the audience that now is the time if ask Shelly a question. That would be awesome. Let's see. I'm trying to wrap my mind around use cases. Forgive me for trying to pigeonhole 3 into 2.0 boxes, but are use cases personalization, high-end personalization, self-identification for first-party 2.0 identification? That's a question from our audience.
I don't think it's clear what the killer app is for any of this. I don't think it's clear. It would probably be helpful for everybody here to understand what this comes from. All of this comes from a white paper in 2008 by an entity known as Satoshi Nakamoto. No one knows if that's a person or a group of people. It's a pseudonym for sure, and the person has not yet been identified. But the white paper is identified. You can go online, just search Bitcoin white paper or Satoshi Nakamoto white paper. It's phonetically spelled, Satoshi Nakamoto. Even if you are not a technical person, this is not a technical paper. You'll be able to easily understand the abstract. And this is like the Martha Stewart version of technology. It's extraordinary use of ordinary technology. Everything in this paper existed in the past, but they put it together in such a unique and interesting way. You kind of went, wow, I'm sorry I didn't think of that. Like it's so obvious when you see it, and yet no one had thought of it previously. And it describes Bitcoin, which is the grandparent of all cryptocurrency. This came out of the 2008 real estate explosion where the economy and the financial system almost collapsed. And Satoshi Nakamoto's point is, we need a currency that's not ever going to be tied to the man. Here, I built a deflationary currency, Bitcoin. There'll only ever be 21 million Bitcoins on. And I read the paper and you say to yourself, wow, this is a different way to create a currency. And there it was a method of account, a method of exchange, and a store of value, the 3 main things that make something a currency. So everything here starts there. Everything that's not Bitcoin is called an altcoin. And the most popular altcoin is ETH or Ether, which is the utility token of the Ethereum mainnet, which is the 2nd largest by market cap. After that, it just goes downhill. Stuff is much smaller. You can go to CoinMarketCap and just see all the coins laid out. And it's crypto winter, so everything is about half of where it was a year ago. This spawned an industry called decentralized finance, and it is exactly a mirror of the financial industry we have in the real world, but with 0 regulation. Somewhere around 2017, an improvement protocol for Ethereum called ERC 721 was penned, and this was a standardization of the APIs required to build a smart contract. And from that came non-fungible tokens. There are 2 protocols. They're open source, ERC 721 and ERC 1155. 1155 is for multiple NFTs, and 721s are for single NFTs to this day. This started an industry based on an industry. So cryptocurrency was the underlying method of exchange, and that was fungible. My Bitcoin, your Bitcoin, my ETH, your ETH, my Matic, your Matic, same thing. I can, like cash, I can move them back and forth. But my shirt and Drew's shirt, yes, they're both shirts, but they're non-fungible. There can't be exchanged. My house and your house, they can't just be exchanged. So this idea of a non-fungible token evolved. All of the insanity of the, 60 million for this and 300,000 for that and $1 million for that, I'm buying an NFT, comes from this idea that we have a non-fungible asset, or is what is believed to be non-fungible, or an original digital asset. That digital asset is protected now, or I should say claimed to be and now written as the original. May not be the original. So for example, if I look at a Bored Ape, just type Bored Ape into Google right now and one will come up. You right click it and save it to your hard drive. You have it. What you don't have are the intellectual property rights that were given with the sale, nor do you have the right to sell it on an exchange as an NFT. You can't generate a receipt for that because that is known to belong to whoever is on the blockchain owning that. So there is a real way to own something digital, which there hadn't been before because it's easy to right click. Now, you could also you could put a title to a house in there, put a title to a car in there, it wouldn't matter. So when we think about like, what's this going to do for us as marketers, what it's going to do is it's going to give us an ability to engage a community, label and identify that community in a different way than we're used to. We're not dropping a cookie. We don't need to drop a cookie. We don't need to do anything to their hard drive at all. We don't need to touch them. There's no GDPR. There's no New York Shield law. There's no CCPA. There's none of that. I don't care about Apple's ATT. I don't care about Google and their third-party cookies. There's a wallet, blah, 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 big, long number. In that wallet is something I put there that they wanted, and they agreed to take it because they gave me their wallet number. I know this is in their wallet because I can see it. The profile is of the wallet. The wallet is anonymous, but not what the wallet has done. Think about that for a minute. I was hacked in December, my MetaMask wallet for $400, which is all I would ever keep in my hot wallet. It's known as a hot wallet. I know exactly where that $400 of ETH is. I don't know who owns that wallet. Nobody does. All the other people that he stole money from or she stole money from, you can see it. You know where it went. You know how it got there. I don't know who that person is. The FBI, I hope, does, but I don't. And so imagine if you've got 2 million consumers that were excited about an airdrop. They're your best consumers. They're your best customers. And you gave them something of value that they valued enough to either take from you or pay for. And now you know that wallet has that. Well, let's follow that wallet for the next forever. I don't need a cookie, and I'm not invading their privacy. That wallet is public. That's as public as me saying I'm going to the beach on my Facebook wall. It's a very different way to think about marketing. And we're not there yet, but it's happening very, very quickly, very quickly. We've got some sports teams, sports leagues, where I've got fans that have 10, 15, 20 NFTs in their wallet. And so I know exactly who their favorite players are. I know when they speculate. I know what their fantasy players probably look like. I don't know who they are. I don't care who they are.
So thank you. That makes a lot of sense because I try to take these things and I put them into the category of, there's something I should think about this week, this month, or this year, right? So taking this into traditional B2B marketing and where does it fit and how do I need to devote attention to it? So I think it is those use cases, right? The self-identification, something to think about, high-end personalization, something to think about.
And fraud prevention.
And fraud prevention. Okay.
If you've got any kind of aftermarket, third-party market, or you've got a counterfeit issue like the LVMH people have, what you can do is you can get an NFC chip and either sew it into the product, or they are self-destructive, fixable NFC chips. Those can be encoded with a hashed identifier that can be on the blockchain as represented in an NFT, and as it changes hand, it's authenticated. So the blockchain now, the utility of the blockchain for that fraud prevention is that it's like having Carfax for an item that doesn't have a vehicle identification number. Like it's giving a VIN number to things that generally don't have VIN numbers. So is this an authentic speed cube? Well, I'll find out if it's an authentic speed cube by looking at the serial number that it has on the blockchain. This is going to be there or it isn't. So there's an immense opportunity to create value for consumers. If you've got a limited edition, 20 cases of incredible champagne, or, Pappy Van Winkle, is this a real bottle of Pappy as opposed to a fake bottle of Pappy? The only way to know is if you bought it it's sealed and it's got the real, NFT on it, the serial number on it, you can check on the blockchain. Fraud prevention is a very big use case. And then cost cutting and auditing for any kind of media that you might buy or sell. And also the authentication. We're going to see this soon. We're not seeing it yet, but I expect to see it. Content on the internet, digital content on the internet. Drew writes a story. I write a story. Forgetting the misinformation. Is this the actual story in its original form? Is this the actual original version of this story, as opposed to somebody copying it or copying a URL or republishing it, or, saying this is, originally at blank. No, this is the original, and it is. So a bunch of authentication tools that all come out of this.
I want to, because we're going to run out of time quickly, and obviously this is a vast world. It's a metaverse. It's unimaginably large.
Omniverse. It's gigantic.
It's huge. Okay, so, and we talked about earlier about 2.5 and the baby steps and preparing yourself so you're not ignorant. So suddenly it's not, oh my God, there's this internet thing. It's 2000. You've seen the crash of 2000. You go, oh, that's never going to happen. I'm going to ignore that at your peril, right? So what are examples of, other than just educating oneself, how do you get started? I mean, again, a lot of these folks are software service companies that are listening.
Yeah, I got you.
Let's dabble.
Two things. Completely shameless plug. Metacademy.com, metacademy.com, Met and the word academy. It's free and it's risk-free. And what do I mean by that? Free meaning it doesn't cost any money. Anyone can go to metacademy.com and use it. There's no advertising on it. There's no sales pitch on it. There's no strings attached to it in any way. It will teach you what cryptocurrency is, how to install a MetaMask wallet, fill it with test currency. So it is risk-free. You're not playing with money. You're playing with completely, absolutely test currency. We'll teach you all about every kind of coin, altcoins, stable coins, CBDCs, all the different shit coins, meme coins, everything is in there. Then we teach you to mint your first NFT. You're earning badges along the way for an engage to earn education. So you'll understand what play to earn, engage to earn, how those tools work. And then we teach you to read metadata, and we teach you to build a generative NFT. And then you get a certificate of completion, which is also an NFT. And the goal here is to give you a good understanding of the models. Engage to earn, which is one of the greatest models ever. We really need to talk about that for a second, Drew, forgetting about the shameless plug. So metacademy.com, it's free. Go there, you'll learn. Right. We didn't talk about engage to earn, and for marketers, this is critical. We built Metacademy on this engage to earn model, where every time you complete a section, you get a badge. If you look at the Web3, the nascent Web3, there's a company called Audius, Audius. Audius is Spotify in a Web3 world. You give them a little bit of your hard drive, a little bit of your bandwidth, and then a little bit of your attention. So the bandwidth is your actual bandwidth in your house. The hard drive is your actual CPU cycles and capability, and your attention, and you get Audius tokens. So you are being paid to be part of this expansive, fully decentralized version of Spotify. Theta is the same thing. It's YouTube in an engage to earn. You watched videos, you give a little bit of your hard drive, a little bit of your bandwidth, a little bit of your brain power, and as your attention, and you get Theta tokens you're earning while you watch. Axie Infinity is a play to earn model. There are people making between $500 and $1,500 a week playing Axie Infinity. It's a terrible game, but it's a really good way to earn money. You stake with Axies. You get 3 Axies. Now I think they're about $125 to get the 3. Used to be about $250, $300. I actually was staking players because it was actually throwing a profit to have these people playing 12, 18 hours a day, and they were making $300, $400 a day. And I was staking players who didn't have the buy-in to buy enough Axies. There was a whole business that formed around staking these players. Engage to earn. The more you play, the more you earn. These models are in their infancy, but engage to earn is critically important to understand as a marketer, because there are 8 major streaming services right now. Walmart's going to do something with Paramount Plus to put Walmart Plus together. Amazon's got Amazon Prime. How is this all going to pan out at the end of the day when we're having fast, either free advertiser supported TV over the public internet, or we're going to have streaming services at a premium? Is there a place to play where you're subsidizing, where your loyalty program needs this level of engage to earn? Are there marketing programs you can put together that are engaged to earn, play to earn, learn to earn? Just you're doing something, audience, and I'm giving you some value back. So we teach that inside of Metacademy, and I think that's an important use case too, besides just identity for marketers now. How you get into it today, take $100 and go buy some crypto and then go buy some NFTs. You can all afford to lose $100, play with live ammo. Do Metacademy first, because if you don't, that $100 is like you're just putting it on red or black at a roulette table and it may not work out for you. But after you've gone through Metacademy, which will take you through the things you might and might not encounter, go over to Coinbase, go over to FTX, drop your $100, go over to OpenSea, just feel this. I don't think this can live in the real consumer world. And I think you'll come up to the same conclusion. No one's doing a MetaMask wallet. No one's going to like go through the brain damage of doing, and the risk profile of being their own security guard, and their own investment committee, and their own, safe. Like, I just don't think people are going to en masse are going to do this. But like the stuff we're doing at the NHL, you just put down a credit card, and the wallet, you don't know that it's an NFT. You just know that you have a digital collectible, and there's an experience, and there's a quest that goes from here to there to there. And when this launches in October, it's good for every fan because it doesn't require any knowledge of cryptocurrency or any knowledge of NFTs, simply a desire and a passion for hockey. And this is a way to enhance their experience. And I think Top Shot did a wonderful job with that at the NBA as well. And there are other places where you see this when it's really well done. You see that from, so I think we're going to end up in a credit card world where no one really knows that they're in a blockchain world, because I just don't see people getting digital wallets. But you won't know this until you go through it. So the first thing you do, whether you do it at Metacademy or some other way, get some risk-free training. There are some other places you can do that too. Then take $100 or $500 if you can afford it and go play with live ammo. And if you stop at $50 into it and you say, well, I can't do this, then imagine your consumers. Are they going to do it? If you won't do it and you need to do it, are they going to do it? And if you get super deep into it, go, oh my God, this is amazing. Whatever your outcome is, it's a win for you. So get into it now so you can understand where it is now. It'll also give you a tremendously good baseline for where this is going, because you'll see where you might be able to add value as a brand. And this is the thing that I've been doing with my clients for the last 2 years that I've been the most rewarding, is that once everybody gets a solid baseline understanding of what this is, all of a sudden it's like, we could do, and that's the most interesting. The part is the best part of those combos, because what comes next is some incredible idea that maybe is completely ridiculous, but that's where innovation comes from.
There was a quick question about how long the Meta Academy takes to complete.
Depends how smart you are. If a couple hours is a lot of reading. It's right. About 20 to 30,000 words of reading and a few little tests at the bottom, little quizzes. It's like the driver's license test. If you sat through the class, you could probably get an ace on the test. There's 4 or 5 questions in the box. It's 14,000 words in the first 14 sections. Won't take you that long.
Well, and if we really dive in, and we don't have time anymore, but just the play to earn thing is as a mindset for a marketer to say, I'm spending all the time trying to get a prospect to read my stuff. To read the stuff that they actually want to read anyway. And we have universities even for our customers to get them to learn, to get certified and so forth. Well, there's this combo of gamifying and maybe giving some more value so that they're more connected to it that I see. It's funny, my son is in the gaming business and he hates Axiom, and he hates the fact that this thing exists that is such a bad gaming experience. But the fact is, because of this other aspect of earning money, it's out there, it's doing it.
Look, Animoca Brands has done a good job with their portfolio. I'd go analyze what they own. Yatsu is the CEO there, and Jeff Zerlin, he goes by the name The Jiho, is one of the co-founders of Axie Infinity. And go look at the model, play it, get into do it, just do it. It's not that hard. Like, kids can do it, you can do it. Like, just go get into it and decide if this is something that makes any sense. I have found it very rewarding and I have found my inner 14-year-old. So that's, for someone my age, that's pretty awesome. These last 2 years have been nothing but innovation every day and inventing the future every day. It has been absolutely a gift.
Well, and again, I think for CMOs, as they fight for relevance, this is one of those areas. It's going to happen. Things are going to happen. There are going to be things. We talk a lot about, keeping some money aside for experiments. So part one is getting educated. And then part two is figuring out some roots in. All right. Any last thoughts, Shelly? 1 minute to sort of wrap up, maybe 2 do's and a don't for the CMOs in the audience when it comes to this world.
Look, you guys are the architects of the future you want to live in. And this is an opportunity. We've gone through data-driven analysis. We've gone through data-driven decision-making. We have AI partners and human-machine partnerships. We've gotten to a really interesting point. We got to go look at the cover of Cosmo this month. You've got an AI created, DALL-E 2 created cover with a little bit of human interaction. We're getting to the point now where the text that the artist used to describe that image was the human part, and everything else was the craft was done by the computer. Here you have a chance to leverage platforms that are emerging in a way that you put your stamp on it. Everyone's going to have the same technology. It's open source. You can go online and get the code for an ERC 721 NFT contract for free from anywhere. That code is just the code. What you do with it, the story you tell, the business you build, the model you create, that's the future that you're inventing. And the only way to be good at that, from my perspective, is to get in and play with it now, is to have a better understanding than your competitors or your friends, so that you can leverage this in a more interesting way. You bring your unique qualities to this technology. The playing field gets more level every day, but we still have our own creativity and we still have our own abilities to tell stories in our own way. So I would encourage you to become proficient in this technology, because within a few years, this will be as ubiquitous as email and spreadsheets and PowerPoint decks. These are going to be filters that kids press buttons and get on TikTok. And at that point, if you don't understand it, you will not be able to catch up. So go forth unafraid, and I'd get into it right this minute. Whatever it is, you'll be your own guide through the journey.
Shelly Palmer, at Shelly Palmer on all platforms, and shellypalmer.com. I highly encourage you to follow his newsletter. Shelly, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Really a treat.